Since we've been talking about semi racing simulators, it's and a arcade version of one coming to uh, excuse me, a competing console. Let's talk about a sim that I'm not sure if this is planning to come to consoles at some point, but is in early access on PC.
Hmm.
That's Assetto Corsa EVO. It is the follow-up to the studio's Assetto Corsa, which is a pretty well-known PC game that's on Steam, heavily moddable and stuff like that. And they also have Assetto Corsa Competizione, I believe is what it's called, and that's a
Yes.
both a console release, and I believe it's also on PC. And I'm gonna get this wrong, but I think it had the GT3 license to support it, an actual like
Something
racing
like that,
series.
yeah.
And this is their follow up to that, another sim for PC as of now, and it is, as you've mentioned, released in early access with a pretty built out roadmap for what is to come. Right now, what's in the game is about 3 or 4 different circuits, a couple of variations of a few of those circuits, and a number of cars. I'm sorry, I didn't bring up the email, so I did not look at how many
Yeah.
cars there are. I want to say there's about 30. And of course, some of those cars also feature different variations with some like customization in it as of now. And that's sort of it.
Hmm.
Kind of feature light at the beginning of this early access period. There is sort of practice sessions and what is a race with some AI, but there's no qualifying, there's no full race weekend sort of spec.
Wow.
Oh, excuse me again. Hold on. I have water.
Get some water in there. And we can tell based
Oh,
off your
yeah. So yes. So it basically is just there to kind of show you the engine right now, give you some time on track to get you a
Mhm.
couple laps, and then give you some time with some AI. In the future, they have quite a bit more coming, including an open world, sort of like Forza Horizon setting, where it's going to be the greater area
Hmm.
of the Nordschleife. So seems like it's going to be a pretty big and detailed area with different sort of tracks to go to in that space. And then, of course, these sort of well-known international circuits like Suzuka and Brands Hatch, which is in there currently. They just ran at Mount Panorama and Bathurst.
Hmm.
So yeah, so a lot that there's not too much in there right now, but enough to give you a taste. They did recently run an update through. It is sort of struggling at its launch. The game itself plays great. The AI is overly aggressive to the
Okay.
point where they will not do anything in a corner other than just push you over, and they're like a sack of bricks that
Hmm.
you cannot move. So they just punch you out of the way. So really, racing against AI isn't kind of advised at this point. Um, and there's an online component to it, attaches to the server. There are sort of like single player. I don't know if there's a career, but there's special events that are available right now. I have not been able to play any of them, as well as a large portion of the community, because it seems that there is some disconnect with the servers that doesn't allow you to access that. So I've unfortunately not been able to experience that. I don't know if online racing is available right now, but I've
Mhm.
just never been able to connect online, so I can't check that. They do have aggressive plans for updates. You may be able to find a graphic. It launches whenever you start the game of what their sort of couple months plans are. I think they do plan on coming to a 1.0 release by the end of this
Hmm.
year. So they will have that sort of full dedicated career mode. They are going to have that sort of open world space available. And it seems from a sort of mod standpoint that they're going to have both a paid mod sort of platform and also a sort of independent mod platform. If you're used to Assetto Corsa, One of the big successes of that game has been the modability of it, and people basically being able to insert their own graphics, physics, cars, like basically like paid cars that drive more realistic than anything that's
Wow.
offered in the game
Yeah.
now. Yeah, it seems like they have a sort of plan to go forward, but right now you're basically investing in that idea, and it's kind of hard to say if whether you'd want to do that. I think if you're a big, heavy like sim race player, uh, it's kind of a no-brainer that this game will probably be built into what is like the next sort of platform for the sort of like into modders. I mean, BeamNG.drive is its own thing.
Hmm.
But Assetto Corsa, like it's I mean, like, it's more sim, obviously. So it will probably end up being that sort of platform, but right now it is just like basically here's a bunch of tracks to experiment with the engine, um, have fun with that. But I think once they get that first like content update out, which features that sort of like open world area that they're talking about, I think that will be a good way to introduce players to this and get people in it,
Okay.
because it is the most like controller friendly sim I've ever played. If you pick up I guess that's wrong because Gran Turismo's been there the whole time. But let's say PC sim. If
Mhm.
you can't play something like iRacing or something um, like even the original Assetto Corsa well with a controller, but I think this one plays pretty well with a controller. You can obviously
Mhm.
do way better times on a steering wheel, and if you have that knowledge. But you should be able to progress to something like a steering wheel using this, and it feels way better than Forza Motorsport ever has. Like even with their rounds of updates for that, for just the sheer drivability and feel
Mm.
of the cars already in this early access release. So what's there is very strong, but again, I don't think it's like it's not really for like mainline consumers right now. It's
Right.
for
Oh yeah.
dedicated heavy
Yeah.
sim players. And like, hopefully enough of them grab on, and then it progresses into both this very like good for sim players, and then also a fun experience for your more casual, like people looking to dip their toes in from something like a Forza Horizon
Mhm.
into a more
Mhm.
serious sim. Because for sim players, the ability to have those sort of like quote unquote real open worlds, to be able to drive around through traffic using a steering wheel and using like cars like supercars that are then heavy with physics and stuff, uh, that's going to be great. But
Sure.
unfortunately, it's going to be, and it's not a currently. So yeah, so I'm definitely going to obviously be following it throughout this early
Mhm.
access period. But right now, only invest only invest if you're interested in sim racing. If you're looking for like a career type racing game, not here quite yet.